So this guy is confused about this reaction from this girl. So he says, I matched with this girl on Bumble the other day and asked her out, and she said yes. We went to a bar on Sunday, this cool bar that has kind of an artificial beach. And in my opinion, the date went extremely well. Ton of eye contact. Nobody even reached through their phones even for a minute. And she didn't even go to the toilet. We talked a lot. We're both immigrants from the same country, but from different cities. We ordered 2 drinks, so we stayed for quite a while. A ton of touching. We made out at the bar and a lot of touching around. I touch her leg. She pulled me a little closer. So a ton of chemistry. We even talked a bit of a possible second date idea that I had, going to a magic show, something I do as a hobby. So up to this point, for the most part, for this guy's first date, he did a pretty good job. The only thing I would say is that I don't think as men, we need to be trying to set up second dates when we're on a first date, because that whole thing of leaving a little air of mystery for women, so that way they're not completely in the know about how you feel quite yet. When you are trying to ask for a second date on that first date, it's giving up the game. She's knowing now, oh, this guy is emphatically liking me. Now, some people might see this and be like, is that playing a game? Shouldn't you be able to tell her on that date if you like her, that you're this and that? Understand, that first date should be nothing more than an inquiry. It is you saying, hey, I think you're interesting and I want to get to know you. And this first date is going to allow me to assess that. And then once I'm done with this assessment, I'm going to go home and make some more assessments before determining if I want a second date. So that's why you don't ask for that second date on that first date, because you need to let her feel as though you're actually taking time to really think about, could she be a good candidate for a future date? You doing that on the first date, as well-meaning as it is, to women subconsciously can give the impression that you're already making a choice. And a lot of women that I've talked to feel some kind of way about a man already having chosen them, when they themselves are like, well, I just went on this first date with this guy, but I still need to analyze and make sure that I feel the same way a few days from now. I need to make sure that I trust him and all this other stuff. And how is he already assessing this on this first date? Now, as men, we know we assess stuff very, very quickly, but they don't work like that. So it's better to go at her pacing, meaning that after that first date, she's still going to go home and want to sit with herself and think about things. So you need to give the impression that you're doing the same thing. And realistically, you should. You should realistically, during that first date, be making assessments and not quite yet decide if you actually want a second date, because you need time to sit back, to maybe talk to other guys. Hey, I had a date with this girl. This is how things went. You know, I'm thinking about doing the thing, or this date compared to this other date, and how this one went versus the last one, all those other things. Like, you really do need to take that time. But that's why I say, and most women, by the way, will not fault you for not setting up a second date on that first date. If anything, like I said, they need time to go away. There needs to be a little bit of, did I make a good impression of him? Will he ask me out again? Will he not? I'm not sure. Like, that needs to be there for them in order to start feeling attraction for you, because the more that they're thinking about you and wondering if you want to ask them out, it's going to make them attracted to you more. The less they have to wonder, it can just be like, oh yeah, I know he likes me. And then you're now taking for granted. And then there's not so much of a rush on her end to accept the next date that you ask her on. As dumb as that sounds, but it's true. So continuing, he says, anyway, I walked her home. That was it. And now I just talked. And now I just talked to her to ask her out again for a second date today, Tuesday. So this guy wrote this message on a Sunday, and then, so that means they went out on a Sunday, and then he's asking her out 2 days later. I tell you guys, on average, I recommend you wait a minimum of 4 days before you reach out to a woman for that second date. Now, if in the course of that 4 days, she reached out to you first, then you can say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I had a great time on the last date too. Hey, I was thinking we could do a date, later in the week. But you really want to give her that time. Most dudes that women are dating, after that first date, that same night, they're sending a text. The next day, they're sending a text. And these guys peter out really, really fast because they're not giving her the time to think about him and to wonder about him. So when you come along and you're waiting 4 days, well, that gives her 4 days to wonder, Jesus, it's been 4 days. Like, does he like me? Did I make the wrong impression, the right impression? Did I do everything right on the date or wrong on the date or whatever? Like, I hope and it makes her anticipate hearing from you even more. Okay. So that's why I recommend, on average, you want to wait a minimum of 4 days before you reach out. But if she reaches out first, then you start bringing up dates. This guy, he took her home Sunday night, and then Tuesday morning, he's trying to ask her out. That's 36 hours. That's not enough time for her to have sat with herself to really consider if her feelings are enough for you to want to go out again. But anyway, he says, and you'll see what happens. So he says, I just talked to her now, asked her out again for a second date Tuesday. I was like, I have two important questions to ask you. So I asked the first, which was some dumb stuff about something we talked about Portugal during the date. And then she goes, what's the second question? So I'm like, I wanted to ask you out again this weekend. And she says that she has a friend coming over, so she can't tell me for sure, but we'll see. So a lot of things to unpack here. So first off, aside from the whole waiting 4 days before you ask for another date, I also don't recommend asking a woman out on weekends when you first start dating her, specifically on Fridays and Saturdays. That is subconsciously known as the serious with a person date days, meaning that those are the days that two people are going to sacrifice for each other if they're already really seriously considering dating each other. When you first start dating a woman, you are not that consideration yet. So when you ask for those days, you are really asking a lot of her time, because weekends is where she's going to spend time with like family, with friends, with people that she's already close to. Also, again, we're not trying to give the impression that you've already made a decision about her being in your life on a very serious level yet. So when you ask a woman out for Fridays and Saturdays, those are serious days. Subconsciously, she knows this and she's thinking, oh my God, he's willing to sacrifice a Friday and Saturday to spend time with me. He must be really serious about me, but we've only had one date. I'm not feeling that serious yet. I'm not willing to yet sacrifice those particular days in order to go out with this guy because I'm still trying to assess my feelings. Most of the women that I've dated, that I've had gotten to successful relationships with, are women that I was dating Sunday through Thursday. And then at the point where Friday and Saturday was a viable day, I'd wait for her to say, hey, I know we just went out on Tuesday, but I had this thing I want to go to on Friday or on Saturday. We should go. So at the point that they start asking for those days, that lets you know that now her feelings are becoming more serious. Until she starts asking for those days, keep it Sunday through Thursday. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to get things like this, where it's like, oh, I'm already busy. Oh, I got a wedding to go to. Oh, my friend's already planned this thing. Oh, I already got a family outing this weekend. Because weekends, again, are reserved for people that she already has serious relationships with. Don't be insulted by it, guys. You're not there yet. You can build to it, but you're not there yet. So keep it to Sunday through Thursday when you start out. I promise you, you're going to get more yeses from women if you're asking them out on Sunday through Thursday than if you're asking women out Friday and Saturday. The caveat is if they work some kind of job, like say they're like a nurse or something like that, where it's like during the week, their time is completely taken up, or like lawyers or some people that have jobs like that, then that's the exception to the rule. Like when they're only available on Fridays and Saturdays, that's when you can ask them out for those days. So most people I find, they have weekday jobs that end at like 4 or 5 o'clock. People got to eat. People got to go to dinner. They can meet you up for an hour or so at the end of a work day for like from 6 or 7 o'clock to like 8 or 9 o'clock, whatever. Like that's not an outrageous demand. If you're asking women out who have those 9 to 5 jobs and they're still saying, oh, I'm too busy, they're just not trying to see. But anyway, he asked for a weekend date. She said she's busy, so we'll see. So he says, I know that kind of reply is a death sentence. Yeah. And I'm kind of upset because I really liked her both physically and her personality. And some traits I find very valuable, like moving abroad alone, something I've done. But I'm just trying to understand what it is, what's the deal with this dating world, because I'm honestly just astonished with her reaction, considering how the first date went. It was probably one of my best first dates ever. Okay. So again, just a reminder, you got to get out of the habit of projecting your own self-interest into a situation. So just because you're having a good time, that does not necessarily mean that she had the greatest of times. Not saying she had a bad time, but it's just saying that you can't assume because your time was great that she also had a good time. The only way you ever really know that is if you ask a woman on a second date and she says yes. Anything else in that is just word talk and word speak, but it's not actually how she really felt about a date, okay? But to that end, again, you made some mistakes here. You asked her out too soon after the first date. You were already asking her out on a second date during the first date, and then you asked her out on a weekend when she's probably got her life tied up already. So all of these result in you not being able to get a date. And I'm sorry to say that's a problem. So you have to learn to A, be more patient, to B, not ask for dates on dates, and also to avoid asking weekend dates. Now, you could have done all this correctly, and she could have still said, oh, well, I'm busy or with this and that, okay? Understand this, though. Women that like you and have high interest in you, even if they're not able to make a day or a date that you put out there, if they want to see you, they'll say, oh, I'm busy this weekend, but I have these various days available. If they're not doing that, that also indicates low interest, okay? But with that said, a way that you can prevent this from happening is when you ask a woman out, never just say, hey, are you free this weekend? Or, hey, I'm free. Always give the option of 2 days. It's a psychological thing that I learned whereby basically the brain's going to always decide between two things. Whether the brain gets presented two things or not, it's going to decide between two things. So if you ask a girl out, say, hey, let's go out for Thursday. Subconsciously, the brain's going to choose between Thursday or not going because you didn't present a second option. And so in the woman's head, she has the option of saying no. And if Thursday doesn't work, then no's the option she's going to give you, okay? But if you say, hey, I want to take you on a date. I'm free Thursday and Tuesday. Let me know which one works for you. Now you've given her brain two options to choose from. You've given her an option of Thursday or Tuesday. Nowhere in there did you give the option of no. So subconsciously, it ends up being a lot harder for a woman to say no to you because you've given her two choices to choose from, and no isn't one of those choices. So you're going to actually find it sounds dumb, but you will get more dates when you offer a woman the option of 2 days versus just giving 1 day and then the other option subconsciously being no. And I've gotten many a date with women, even women that were friends of mine that would say they'd never go out with me simply because I said, hey, so I want to take you out. I'm free like Tuesday and Wednesday. Let me know which one works. Well, I think we're just friends, blah, 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 blah. But you gave me 2 days, so let's do Wednesday. I'm like, oh, that actually works? Oh, crap. So yeah, always offer 2 days, guys. Just a little tip from me, yours truly, Harry Wilmington, okay? So continue. Oh, it's continuing. He says, the first date went so well and there was so much chemistry with this particular girl that I just can't understand how I couldn't land a second one. Should I just forget her? Basically, I told her, all right, let me know if you're free and we can arrange something. You know where to find me. Again, not the best response. And you never want to put the process of setting up another date in a woman's hands because more often than not, even women that like you, they still have this fantasy of, but I want to be asked out by the guy. So when you leave it in their hands, ultimately it results more often than not in the woman's not going to ask you out. So what you want to do is if you ask a woman out and she says, hey, I'm busy, or I'm already busy this weekend, we'll see or whatever, do the takeaway for one, because you never want to accept a maybe date. So if she says, I got a friend coming over, so we'll see. But you know what? You got a friend coming over? You know what? Never mind. That's fine. Enjoy your time with your friend. I'll hit you up sometime later next week. Now you've taken it back into your control. You wait a week, you call her back and say, hey, how's the weekend with your friend? Oh, awesome. That was great. Glad to hear this. So check it out. There's this restaurant I want to go to, and I want to take you with me. Right now I got free time on Tuesday and Thursday. Let me know which one of those work best for you. And you are asking her out again. Now, if you ask out the second time and she says, oh, I'm busy. Oh, something came up, blah, blah, blah. Give a woman 2 times to reject you, and that's it. So that first time, oh, I'm busy, friend coming over, we'll see. If you ask her out a second time and she says, oh, I'm busy again, blah, 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 and she's not trying to set up or put out there a second option that could work for her, that's her very, very passive way of saying, I'm really not highly interested, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. And understand, most women that are trying to be nice to you are going to reject you passively. Very rarely they're going to say, you know what, I'm just not feeling it. You know what, the date was great, but I just don't want to date you at this time or whatever. Most of the time, they're going to either try to keep passing off the date or say yes to a date and then flake on you. This is all passive stuff, guys. And as guys, it's very, very annoying because we like to think we're very, very upfront with stuff. But just read that as it is, and you'll know that it means a no, and you want the stress about, oh, well, she keeps putting me off, and she says she wants to do the date, but if you're not ever actually getting that date, that's a no. Thank you for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode, and catch new episodes right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out these other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.